One. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share. Okay. So hello, thank you for having me. My presentation to you today is called Yake Hintil Ma'a Kaieeholo taqhohai Toon'o, and it's called Food Sovereignty. We still gather our Indian foods, kelp and seaweed. So I want to start with a land acknowledgement. So we begin by acknowledging that Santa Rosa, the place where I am speaking from today, sits on the land of the Pdahau or Kaieeholo people, commonly known as the Southern Pomo today, and may include the Dry Creek Rancheria, Lytton Rancheria, Stewart's Point Rancheria, Cloverdale Rancheria, and the Federated Tribes of Grayton Rancheria. We also must acknowledge the Coast Miwok and Wapo peoples who are also from this place. Southern Pomo peoples continue to remain in relationship to these lands through ceremony, culture, and stewardship. They are important parts not only of the history of this area, but also in the continuing knowledges of this place. Furthermore, University of California, Los Angeles, where y'all are at and y'all are coming from, sits on the ancestral homelands of the Gabrielino and the Tongva peoples. So let's begin. So I was invited to talk today about kelp and seaweed, and it's one of my favorite things to talk about, especially traditional food, just like my thing right now. And so this presentation is going to be, I'm going to be sharing with you who my people are and where I'm from. My love for traditional foods, especially seaweed, kelp, and abalone, and there's a whole bunch of other things, but pretty much everything from the ocean. You'll understand why, because I'm an ocean person. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the harvesting practices. I know we don't have a lot of time, so harvesting practices and techniques. I wanted to tell you why this is an important thing for me. It's the importance of traditional knowledge that it keep going on and on and on. And I'm also going to share some really juicy, rare stories and prophecies about climate change and what we're experiencing right now, especially with all this erratic weather, and we're looking at the foods and things growing out of season and stuff, and how some of those stories, where they come from, especially from people in my families. And then we'll have some time for question and comments. So my background. So I'm going to start with what I would normally start with. Kadi mo mayama kalke. Yo wala make chachilada. Yoke chachilada, shoke chachilada, boke chachilada. Shoke chachilada. Yakama el baya ya udal thadu. Yakama el baya ya natem. Ya better boch. Yakama el yoske yoma udal. Keshi Lori Laiwa Thomas. Boya Pdahau. Canelo Shokawa. Yahweh. So I started with a prayer and a blessing that I learned from my brother. His name is Sean Patty. We're from Hopland, and that prayer and blessing was handed down from my great-great-grandfather. His name was Jeff Joaquin. He was a Indian man from Hopland and Yorkville in Mendocino County. And so my brother taught me that, and that was the way our family would open up any kind of blessing, or you can use it like to bless food, or just I use it for greetings whenever I do lectures and things like that. So basically I said, it's good to see all of you people here today, all of you various people from various directions, from the east, from the south, from the west, from the north. Our Father loves us very much, and he is guiding us with his hands, not them. And that's why we're still here, because he cares for us. And then I told you that my name is Laiwa Thomas, and that I'm an enrolled member of my mother's tribe, the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians, but I was raised on my father's reservation, the Boyas. We are ocean people, and we're from Manchester Point Arena. So my tribal background, as I was telling some of you earlier, I'm an enrolled member of Mom's tribe, but I come from so many places, and these are some of them. I'm a Boya from Pdahau. I'm an ocean person from the mouth of the river, also known as Point Arena. I'm a Chinelo from Shokawa. A Chinelo is a roundhouse person from east of the river, also known as Hopland. I'm a Huchnom and Little Lake Pomo from Balokai. And Huchnom is actually a Southern Athabascan tribe. And the Little Lake is a Pomo tribe, and it's from Balokai, the place where wild barley grows, also known as Potter Valley. I'm a Kashaya from Dunica, and the Kashaya means I'm an expert gambler from Mountain by the Sea, also known as Stewart's Point in Sonoma County. I'm a Mashumak of Latte, that is Yorkville. I'm Coast Miwok. I'm learning about my Coast Miwok heritage. My grandmother was from there, from Tamales. I also have grandmothers from Panolaville, from Upper Lake, from Yokeo, from La Chupta, from Canoa, from Cotalao. I have one grandma who's from Lima, Peru, and I have a couple other grandmas who were also part of from Mexico and from Spain, Ireland, England, and Germany. So yeah, all of those people helped make me who I am today, and I love them all. And so my family, I live here in Santa Rosa. I live with my two children. I have two adult children and my husband, Delbert, who is currently hospitalized. So I always say a prayer for my husband. I always think of him. My academic background, well, okay, so I graduated from Mendocino College, a community college in Mendocino County, and I'm a graduate from UC Davis. Former McNair scholar, traveled. I went to UCLA for a conference once down there. It was really a lot of fun. Anyways, I'm from University of California, Davis, and I got my undergraduate degree in Native American Studies. And I'm currently ABD and working and finishing my dissertation, which is a connection between people and place through language and stories in Central Pomo Territory. So stories of the land, stories of the people, and that's what I'm doing there. And so that's what I hope to finish. I was hoping to finish that this summer, but we'll see. Anyways, and my emphasis is also in North America. It's a hemispheric program. My career, I just got hired as the first Native American Studies instructor tenure track, and the first time in history at Santa Rosa Junior College in 103 years. Big deal. And I love it. I love teaching here. I love living here. I am in a brand new department called, we have ethnic studies department. And so I am the Native American Studies expert, and I am 40 years deep into this discipline. I first started right out of high school when I was 18 years old, and founders of my department got me into Native American Studies. I also still teach part-time at Mendocino College. I teach Native history, I teach political science, and ethnic studies and history. So I still there at Mendocino College in Mendocino County. And then I have taught at UC Davis and Sac State. So that's who I am. So a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about. These are the areas where I was like, I checked and seen how many miles apart we are today, folks. And coming from you, I'm about 450 miles. The areas I'm going to be talking about, as you can see, are DeHaven, Point Arena, and Manchester. Santa Rosa is where I currently live. I am 45 minutes drive north of San Francisco. And then to get to the beach and to go get kelp and seaweed is a 2-hour drive from here. And then it's even another hour to go and a half to go up to DeHaven. That's my favorite spot ever. And here you are down here in Los Angeles, but I think that little thing puts you, yeah. So anyways, that's the region that we'll be talking about today. So what I want to tell you is I'm going to be talking about just different things that I do as far as when I gather. I hope you're not expecting a scientific presentation because it's not there. I know I don't even know how to say those words. I know how to say them in my language, but I don't know how to say them in yours. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I want to first talk to you about, I'm going to show you, this is what I do. It's important to me to be able to stay healthy. And one of the things that COVID did was it helped me, rethink how I was, my own health and being good to my body. And so I decided to get on a healthy track and eliminate some ugly foods from my diet and get back into my traditional foods. And so I can't get down these trails to the beach if I'm unable to do that. So it was super important to stay fit enough to be able to access some of these most difficult, dangerous trails, because accessing these traditional foods that I love to gather, like kelp and seaweed, means that I have to take this one trail right here. This is at Alder Creek in Point Arena. You have to go all the way down, and there's my cousin right here, and there's his mom down there. Whoops. And so it's very steep, and some of them have ropes where you have to get down. It's very difficult. And there's only like 3 places that I know of currently where I can actually drive up, park, walk onto the beach and go pick seaweed. It's just not going to happen. So you have to take the time to drive there to get to these places, get there at low tides, make sure that you're doing everything, safe. And then I have to climb down these trails to get down to the beach. This is at Alder Creek. It's called Casilde Chamada. And that is in Manchester. And then on the right, there's this place called Kabesh Bok. It's let's see, American people call it Round Rock. It's Bowling Ball Beach. There's like 2 places in the world that have it. There's one in, I think it's New Zealand, and then there's the one here. But these are the types of trails you have to climb down that ladder, and it goes all the way down. So you have to be able to, climb up and climb out of there. Plus, lugging 20 pounds of wet seaweed is not an easy thing. So it's important to stay fit, stay healthy. And that's what caused me to want to make some changes in my life, especially when COVID came around and I didn't want to get sick. And so I gave up cigarettes and I gave up white sugar, and I started eating my foods and stopped buying so much junk. And I started to want to focus on healthy foods, our Indian foods. And so that's what I do. One of the places that I go to that is the most important place is this place right here. And this is in Point Arena. It's known as the Public Stornetta lands, but it's before that. It's stolen lands. This was our village. This was Malala. Ma is earth or land, and Lala or Lali, that suffix means place. So that means earth place. We're from here. We're from that place. We don't believe that we cross Bering Land Strait. We don't believe in that. For those who are Ama Ili Bataka, true believers of our ways, we come, and this is one of the most important places ever for gathering food. And that rock out there is called Gapataka Kabe, and that means water bear rock, sea lion rock, also known as. And during low tides, you can walk out here and people fish. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. These are my homelands. I love it here. I am that ocean. I'm everything that's in that ocean. That's what we are. We're called Boyas. We're water people, ocean people, west water people. That's what Bo means. It means west. It means also can mean Pacific Ocean. And Ya is our us. So that's what it is. So I walk along these bluffs, and then I have to climb down a really super steep trail. And then I have to cross all those rocks and go out there. And then when low tide is, you can see that narrow strip of rocks that leads out there. This was a day of there's low tide, but you can go out there, and that's where the sea palm kelp is. But see, I don't pick sea palm kelp. We can't pick it. It's against the law to pick it right now. I mean, I have family who do. We will always find a way. We will always find a way to our traditional foods. It'll never stop us. We don't care how many laws, but we're also recognize that taking care of this means that when we enter these places, that we enter in a good way with a good mind, and that we're careful that we minimal damage to all life that is all around there. And so this is so you can't go, this is a marine protected area, by the way. So I still go down there though, and I gather my shells for all my regalia and things like that. But it's a beautiful place, and there's lots of stories. And I found stories that were not transcribed and that were at UC Berkeley when I went to a language conference. That's where I got the idea for my dissertation. I found all these stories that were sitting in drawers for like 70 years untranscribed. And so I was working on untranscribing them, because I was working on transcribing them so that we can get this information back to the community, and they would have just sat there. And so it's been a wonderful experience. Native language is also one of my other specialties. I create curriculum and do all that. I'm not a fluent speaker. We don't have any left, but we do have a lot of people such as me and my brother and others. And I have a couple aunts who are still alive. But all of these things and all of this food that comes from these places, a lot of our people don't harvest them as much. Not like the way that my dad did. My dad sat out here as a kid and cracked sea urchins right off the rocks and slurp them like eggs, raw eggs. But then they couldn't go there anymore. See, our old people lived out here for a long time, since the beginning of time. This is their summer village. In wintertime, they go up on the hill. But then this was through executive order. That lighthouse was placed up and they ran us out. And so we ended up on the hill at a place called Chai Chai. We stayed there for about 25 years. And then they ended up going down when the 18 unratified treaties and all these California Indians were homeless and had nowhere to go. Rancheria, Homeless Indian Act, the legislature provided money, and they actually purchased small tracts of land. And that's why we're up 3 miles up from this place here, is where the reservation sits. And that's where grew up. I went to school from here from 1st through 12th grade. Almost everybody, my teachers and all of them, they're all still there. They may even be watching today. So some of the things that I wanted to tell you the most is one of the things that I go gather, one of the most important things is your safety. Now, I was told to not go down to the ocean by myself. Don't go alone. And it's important because you could get hurt down there. You could sprain your ankle down there. Then what? What if nobody even knows that there? You need to tell somebody you're going to the beach. You need to go with someone, have someone stand on the shore and watch you. The number one rule growing up, don't turn your back on the ocean. Well, you know what? Sometimes sleeper waves come. And one time I was gathering seaweed and my husband was on the other side. He was sitting there just eating his little ham sandwich and didn't even know, he couldn't see me. I was sitting there, I was exploring, I was looking at the seaweed, I was looking at all the mussels, and I got distracted, and a giant sleeper wave hit me and it knocked my foot underneath a big rock I was standing next to. My foot went it was knee deep. I was stuck in there and I was tumbling like a washing machine. And that big sleeper wave came and just hit me. And I was looking at the ocean. I didn't have my back turned to it. And I'm a seasoned person. I was raised down here, brought down to the ocean till I was like 5 years old. And so even that can happen. And that day it took the ring right off of my finger. I used to wear a turquoise ring, and I showed my husband and I said, "You're not gonna believe what happened to me." I come walking up to him soaking wet. And I said, "A big wave hit me and it took the ring right off my finger." He goes, "You know what that meant, right?" He goes, "You sacrificed that ring instead of your life. I'm glad it took the ring." And so I'm extra careful. I have grabbed relatives before who have been pulled into the ocean with undertows, sleeper waves. So you have to be very careful when you go out there. It's always good to go with someone, but sometimes I don't have that luxury. I don't have like people who can just like drop what they're doing and take off at 4 in the morning and drive 2 hours. And, we don't have that ability to do that. But my husband would go at least sit on the shore because he can't get down to the ocean anymore. So those are steep and dangerous trails, and there's lots of risk for injuries. So you just got to be careful. So some of the biggest gathering rules that I follow and that I've been taught are to make sure that when I go down there, that my body is clean, my mind is clean. I What I mean by clean your body, when I go down there, you don't just go rushing down and start just grabbing, pulling seaweed off the rock. You have to have respect. You have to go down there and first wash your face, wash your head, wash your feet, rub that salt water all over you. It's like a purification. Cleanse your body, then you're ready to go. Pray. You can do an offering. My husband's people, they always like to throw pennies for everything. But you can pray, you could say a prayer and thank the spirit, thank the earth. We worship the earth. We worship the earth. That's why we were misclassified as Earth Lodge cult people. I don't like that word cult, and I don't use it, but I'm just letting you know that that's a term that was applied to Mr. Grover and his gang at Berkeley a long time ago. But we worship the earth and we thank the earth for giving us this beautiful food and for keep bringing it back year after year after year. And so those are some of the things that we're worried about right now, because there is a lot of threats through disease, through poaching, through overfishing, through all runoff, through all sorts of things that are other, predatory animals eating each other up and hogging things, and, you know, all of that going on. Then we got the erratic weather going on with the seasons and things growing out of season, and we have things that are not growing at all. And then we have species coming out that are like albino, or something's not growing, or it's growing 3 months out of season. We're like, what in the world is going on here? So we have to think about that. Another thing we do is some people have songs for that. I have friends who have seaweed songs that they pick. Um, They also have, some people have rules about what kind of weather they don't get to pick in, especially like if it's overcast or cloudy, then that means that you can't do that for them. And that's for the people up north there, Kato and Koshuki. Only take what you need and leave some for others, especially if that seaweed is old, and the kelp, you don't pick the kelp that's laying up there rotting in piles. You pick the really nice, fresh, clean stuff. Um, Anyways, you only take what you need and you determine that for yourself. What are you picking for? I already know who I'm picking for when I go down there. My old elderly family, my sisters who live in Sacramento, who don't have access, 4-hour drive to get over here and get down there at a low tide. So I'm already thinking in my mind, old people, people who have limited physical ability and physical limitations or disabled. Those are the people that I get for. And other people who are able-bodied, hey, you need to go get it yourself, and you need to take the time and make it a priority and learn how to do that. But even then, it's very tricky because um, whether I teach someone or bring someone down there to the ocean with me means that I am now opening up my spots to someone who may then invite 100 other people. And then when I go there the next year, it might not be there. So I take all of that into consideration. There's enough there though for plenty of people, but not a whole lot of people do this. And I'm 58 years old, and everybody I know is all like old. 50, 60, 70. I know 70-year-olds who can still get down into the ocean. And and so we need to start teaching our young people to do this more. There's still a lot of young people left that do it, but not as much. We have ceremonial and special stories. You have to remember what the territory you're in when you go and gather places, and you need to follow those rules always. I have a special story. My friend told me that long time ago, when they go down to the ocean, they do this holler. They go, huh, except really loud, like, huh, right? And then they'll hit those sticks, they'll hit them rocks with sticks. And basically, they're running out all those creatures that live underneath the water. Uh, People call them supernatural, and we know that there's probably people that laugh at us who don't believe in that. But all I have to say is, how would you know? You weren't there and you didn't see it. But there are the area that I go pick at up north. there are little blue people that have like white hair. My friend's seen them. He even told me a story in my class. He shared with my students how his grandmother was a 6-year-old little girl in 1902, and their family all went to go night fishing for surfish, and how they saw those lights and how there were blue orbs were coming in on the water like that, and how two Bigfoot just walked right out of them, walked right up on the beach and walked up to a waterfall, and it opened up and they walked inside and that rock shut. And his grandmother, he's 65 years old. He told me his grandmother told him that story. She saw that as a little girl. And those blue people live in the King Range, and they don't live in the ocean. They actually live in the mountain. And he said that they have webbed hands. They have really big eyes, and you have to be careful for them. So you hit that and realize that you better watch it because they could get you. They've also seen horses and pigs with gills on them walking on the beach. My friend told me that his old people seen that. That's a long time ago. That's before contact with Spanish, Mexican, and American people. That's a long time ago. This is the area that is immediately south of the area that you know as the Lost Coast or Utah. It's a very, very isolated area. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Anyways, it's where the Indian people all go and gather and collect their seaweed and abalone, and well, we can't get abalone right now either, but our seaweed and kelp, and that's even hard to find. So also another thing that he told me that his dad taught him was that when you start getting out into the water and you start getting out deeper and you're starting to see different color of species, especially pashat, it's called mule ass. It's that, what the hell is it really called? Is it a sea anemone? You know those that look like round, was the jelly donut. It looked like a round thing, and then it's got like a jelly thing inside. Well, my dad said he goes, if the apocalypse comes and there's no food to eat, you guys, and the ocean's not polluted, you can go cut that out of the, cut that jelly part out, dry it out, and fry it up. He said, cook it. He said, it's like a hamburger. So he said, you can always, there's plenty of pashat. Anyways, my friend's dad said, if you go out there and you see that and you start seeing them become different colors and all kind of colors, that means come back in, because that's for those special people that live out there, those special creatures. We got words for mermaids, we got words for dragons, we got words for all sorts of creatures that would be considered supernatural by most people, but they live in the ocean and we have to share it with them. So let's talk about seaweed. Toon'o or ton, or my grandma's people would say, oh, Toon'o. So there's me and my husband picking seaweed. That's where I go. Oh, it's loaded, you guys. There's so much seaweed galore. But I go down there and I pick my seaweed. It's always like about 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. My husband, that was the last time he got to go down to the ocean. He's no longer able to get down there. There was a fire that actually went all the way down here. This is Schooner Gulch. This is south of Point Arena. Point Arena Lighthouse Wharf is just right around that, like that tip up here. Anyways, there's tons of seaweed, you guys. It's loaded. It's just loaded. And you have to pick that for new growth to come. You take that old growth and take it out there and put it into the water. But it's got to have, sometimes you can get 2 to 3 cycles of seaweed in one season. You got to pick it so that the fresh growth comes back. And it's so beautiful. And it can get a little dirty here. There's lots of bugs and critters and sea debris. And there's lots of, sometimes there's shells and bugs, lots of sand. This place has a lot of sand. And so because of that, once you pick it, then you go down there. I always take like just a little pot with me. Some people take colanders, and I was like, huh? But whatever works, right? Whatever you got. And you take it down, you find a little tide pool area, and you just hand rinse it. I just take handful, clump by clump, and your hands are freezing, and you just rinse it out, take the wash off all the sand, and then put that back in your bucket or bag, and then you carry that out. And then you take it home and prepare it for the next round. So my husband got his bag. That's him on the right, and that's me. This is at our favorite spot. And there were actually some abalone divers down there, and I had them take our picture that day. This was back in 2014. This is today. This is just recently. This is a place that I go to now up north by Fort Bragg. It's actually more toward Westport. It's the area known by Utah, but that's my sister. That's my sister Tammy. She's on the left. When I have a picture of her when she's seen all the seaweed, her mouth just dropped. She's like, I have a photo of her doing that too. Anyway, she's just picking away. She's picking, and then my little daughter over here, Sheila, she's a biology major here at Santa Rosa Junior College. She's picking seaweed too. Our whole family has been picking since we could walk, since we could get down to the ocean. We didn't need a fishing license, so our parents would drag us all down, and we love it. And then this is the seaweed that we got that day. We lay it all out and dry, and you lay it in tables. Some people put it in little round circle shapes, but after you take it all out, you spread it all out thin, and you put it all over the ground. It takes a long time. It depends on the weather. Sometimes it starts raining. You got to bring it inside, and you have to lay it all over your house, wherever you can, around the wood stove, on sheets, on towels, anything you can think of. I put it on tarp. I put it on newspaper. I put it on anything on the floor with their surface space. But you can get fancy now, make tables and stuff put outside. But that's what it looks like when it's dried. There's my sister. That's the seaweed that we picked that day. Look at it. We had to go borrow a friend's backyard to put it. We had these all over, not just this area, but we had another area. And my sister and I did that. And it's backbreaking work. You have to get down on the ground, and you have to spread it all out thin and pull all those bugs and things out and dry it. And then you have to turn it over, and you have to make sure that there's no animals around. You don't want no animals going and peeing on your food. It's like opening up a fridge and letting your pets jump around in there, right? You don't do that. We're very orderly people with very orderly rules about cleanliness. So that's where all of this seaweed is drying. Oh man, my friend had a yard out in Redwood Valley here, and she's got a ton of space. And so we went and used their yard, and that's all the seaweed that we got that day. And then after you do all that work, after you get up at 4 in the morning, you drive 2 hours, then you walk down those steep, rugged trails all across those dangerous big rocks where you could sprain your ankle. You walk all the way down to the beach. It takes about 20 minutes. Then you go pick, and that takes a while. Then you go rinse it all off. It's probably like a 36, 40 hour just to produce that amount of seaweed. And then you deep fry it in oil. You can eat it dried too, but we like to put it in hot oil really super quick. It's hit or miss too. People are scared to cook seaweed. We're usually older people. Everybody turns to the oldest person in the room and says, are you gonna cook the seaweed? Anyway, that's what fried seaweed looks like. And you put it on a tortilla. And so these are homemade torts, and this is called seaweed in a tort. California Indians go crazy over this. This is a delicacy. We lose our freaking minds over this. I make seaweeds and torts for lots of things, for my students at UC Davis, for my students here. I already had a talk on acorns. I'm having another one coming up, but yeah, that's it. That's the goals right there. The next thing is palm tree kelp. Now, I have not eaten palm tree kelp before. That's hard to get. That's like, you got to be able to, I only know people who've been able to kayak out and get that, or get down deep in the water where it's too dangerous. And the places where it grows on rocks and looks like these beautiful forests, look like these miniature islands filled with palm trees. It's like, oh, just so beautiful. And we call this kaieeholo. Kaieeholo, palm tree kelp. This is up in Fort Bragg, one of my favorite places. I taught here last summer, and I would go hang out here. I mean, my classroom was like 3 minutes from this location. That's how lucky I was, you guys. Oh my God. I taught, I taught there at the Coast Center from Mendocino College, but that's what it looks like. That beautiful little lone palm tree just sitting there. Look at all these beautiful mussels. Ooh. Anyways, that was during my lunch hour. All of these photos I took. These are all my photos. And then I took these, and you got to rinse these off too, but you never rinse. You always rinse in the ocean water. Do not take them home and then try to rinse them at home. I had a friend do that, poor thing. She was being nice, so at least she thought of me. She picked some nori seaweed for me and she rinsed it off in her tap water in her sink at home. And it turns out that when you do that and you try to cook it, it tastes like nothing. You rinse the salt off. So my dad salvaged it one time. He actually took it and re-rinsed it again and added sea salt all over it and then re-dried it. And it wasn't bad, but it was better than nothing. But this is a relative of mine got this, and this is what the sea palm tree kelp looks like when you get it, and then you cut the leaves off, and then you let it dry, and then you store it. And you can add that to your food, like you're cooking a pot of beans, or I have friends who make like make like stew and add that to their stew. You don't just and you can chew on it. And you can add it to whatever you want. I mean, I don't know anybody who just like puts it in a pot though and just like eats it. And this is hard to get. And so, and actually we're not even supposed to get this right now. I just was picking seaweed and a game warden came up and checked me. He was only looking for kelp and he was looking for kelp and he was looking for abalone. I said, "Oh no, I don't have that. I'm not foolish enough to do something like that." And so this is what this is what it looks like. So the next one is bullwhip kelp, and that's called taqhohai. Taco is salt and hai is salt sticks. So you take that bullwhip kelp and you slice it up and you dry it in strips. Oh my God, all my life growing up, was so sick of Indian food. I'm telling you, it was like that's all we ate. We always had a bag of kelp in our house. We always had a bag, and then we stored them in brown bags or somewhere dry. But always had seaweed, always had kelp, and just sit around chewing on it. It's like jerky. It's like sea jerky, and so it's called taqhohai. Whoop. And that's what it looks like. And so we take those and we slice them all into little strips and lay them out to dry, and then we store them in bags, and then we don't get those ones that are up laying up those big cables, those big piles of cables where they're all rotting and stuff. Oh no, 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 no. Get the nice, big, beautiful, nice, clean it down there in the ocean water, clean it nice and good before you bring it home, and then you process it and prepare it and then store it for cooking or for use later or for gifting, like old people, disabled people, special events, dinners, dances. We dance in the roundhouse. We have strawberry festival. We have New Year's dances. We have special dances. We still have our ceremonial houses and outdoor brush dances that we still dance in for our people. We're dancing for a long life for our people. This is my daughter and my cousin, and this is up in Fort Bragg, same place, Pudding Creek. And that's a big piece of bulwark kelp that we found. This is in Point Arena. There's so much kelp, it's all over. This is the kind, I just want to show you what it looks like, but this is what it looks like. I get freaked out kind of walking on it because I watch too many horror movies. I start imagining what's underneath there. I'm like, oh my God. I'm thinking zombies might pop out or something. But anyways, this is another place that I go get. So I want to tell you the story real quick. It's a short one. One thing I want to tell you is that my great great grandfather had a prophecy. He actually predicted the San Francisco quake. He told how the people would run around with soot all over their face. And he said that north of the Point Arena Lighthouse, and I contacted the photographer, uh, Vito. It's in the PowerPoint, it's in the alt text. Oh, I don't know, but I emailed him and asked him, can I have permission to use your photo for today's lecture? And he said yes. But this is where I grew up, right up here, 3 miles up in this hill. That's where Point Arena Reservation is. We are the mouth of the river people. The river flows right down here, right into the ocean. Right up here on this ridge, that's where our old people's winter village was. And north of this lighthouse, my grandfather said, is the parent of all abalone. And he used to be able to make that spawn by tapping it with sticks. Those guys were heavy duty in their day. They were extraordinary people. They're not ordinary people. I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not like what my grandfather was. He was an incredible person. And he said that there's an abalone that lives on this north side of the lighthouse, and it is the first abalone. And he said that there's going to become a day when the winters become summer and the summers become winters, and that things grow out of season. And that is what he was predicting, and he was told us it was coming. He said that people are going to hurt each other and kill you for an apple sitting on your table. He said that the world that we know it will change, but it will not end. And he basically told us that if this abalone dies, which feeds on the kelp, right? If that abalone dies on the north side of this lighthouse, that would be the end to what we know as this world. And so what we have to do is we have to take care of each other. We have to be respectful of all of these species and all this beautiful food. We have to remember that this traditional knowledge is something that connects me to my ancestors, and I share it constantly to let people know that we need to take care of the earth. We need to take care of it so that we can keep getting all those beautiful foods that can keep coming back every year. And so that's what I wanted to remind you of. And I put this heart on here to let you know. I know that's not the type of seaweed that we eat, but hey, I wanted you to know that that's what that food is. Getting all that food, all that seaweed, all that kelp, and getting it, and all the work that went into it. And then to hand that to somebody, that's love. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I just want to thank you for having me, Yahweh. And there's my email if you have any questions. And I'm open to taking any questions or comments. Thank you.